The least mature team I've ever worked with and the most mature team I've ever worked with had almost identical maturity measures. Here's my U-shaped theory of maturity metrics. One of the least mature teams I ever worked with had really very shallow backlog depth. They might have had a lot of stuff in Jira, for instance, but it wasn't well understood, wasn't well refined, and they were always working chaotically, and they didn't have time to wait because it was taking so long to understand things. They were just delivering things and often re-delivering them and fixing them because they weren't well understood. The most mature team I've ever worked with also had a shallow backlog, but it wasn't because they were messy, sloppy, and immature. It's because they were delivering at such a pace, but as fast as they could refine something, they were delivering it. Their backlog was on the razor-thin margins of just-in-time delivery. Refine, deliver, refine, deliver. Why would they spend more time building backlog depth when they could deliver and learn from it? They were refining with great skill and expertise and gaining understanding, but they were just as fast getting that stuff into production. So their backlog never got very deep. Another example, the least mature team I've ever worked on wasn't writing a lot of code because they were spending so much time debugging, fixing. Their developers were underskilled, so it was taking them a long time to actually commit things and merge them. They were slow when it came to what looked like productivity of developers. The most mature teams I was on also were writing less code than our mid-level maturity teams. Here's why. They were often finding ways that didn't need code. They were removing, refactoring, simplifying their application. Sometimes, some sprints, you might end up with a negative code differential. They actually removed and refactored and simplified out more code than they wrote. They were finding ways of solving problems through simplification, through process, through exploration, through bringing other tools and solutions in, just as much as they were writing code. Because they understood that every new feature comes with a carrying cost, and sometimes the right answer is to not build a solution. Be very careful when you're designing your maturity metrics. They will really carry you from beginners to mid-level work. They're really good at making sure people are moving past those initial stages of really floundering. But also watch out that they don't cut out your top-level performers and discourage people from moving past that kind of mid-level, past mediocrity to kind of just starting to learn into real maturity. If you want to reach real maturity, your metrics and measures better be ready for people to move on past the basics and better be ready for the fact that very mature and immature teams might look the same on paper.